Zaytoven was hacked recently.
What,
I
his
don't
social
know.
media?
His Twitter. What's going down? It's still the EMCC. Is it two C's? EMCC. Erinn Makes Conversation Cooler podcast. I don't know where Dame and I fit into that, but
I'm
right
rocking
now,
with it.
exactly. There we go. We just give the people what they want. Um, Dame and I and Aaron all reconciled our differences. Um, we hired a forensic accountant. Dame was stealing millions of dollars from us generated by the MEC podcast, but he did the right thing, and here we are back as a team for some post MEC conversation. How are you all feeling? Especially you, Dame, because we missed you last week.
Oh, I forgot that you had, man, my weeks have just been a blur. There's a lot going on. Some stuff I definitely can't talk about on this podcast, but it's just life. It's a lot of life going on. So my days have been blurred, and I'm still trying to catch all the Laker games. So hopefully they win again tonight. Lakers, Warriors. Hopefully they get the second game. But I'm doing cool. I'm doing a lot of work with Two Loss. I guess I'm a part of the Two Loss squad now, but Two Loss is doing a lot of cool things. So that's one of the reasons why I'm over there is just that they got a lot of cool stuff going on. So yeah, I guess things are going well. Net things are going well.
I mean, a lot of life is that's a good thing.
Yeah. So most of the time, for sure. Life has its ups and downs, but it's all good. Anyway, what are we talking about? I know Wiz Khalifa actually Wiz didn't post it. I forget the name of that page. It's like VS something. I don't know.
I'll
There's a
tell you
page.
so we're accurate. It is called VS Gent.
It was
Yeah.
on
At
Drink Champs though. They just reposted a Drink Champs
Yeah,
clip.
it's one of the pages that just steals a lot of content and then gets big. I'm that is a pet peeve of mine because I work with a lot of content creators because, with Big Jaw's content and then when I was working with Minx, like their content would get stolen all of the time and just get reposted with no mention that they were the original creators. There's no link back to them, and then I would see on TikTok that these comedy videos going crazy, but like John Minks created them. I hate when people steal content, and I really don't like when they give credit. I don't know if VS Gents give credit. They probably do. I don't know,
They give credit. Their page gives credit.
but that's the bare minimum, and it should be the first thing in the description. Like if you're taking other people's content and posting it on your page, and you're not adding any other value to it, no commentary, no additional opinions, nothing. Like their page should be the first thing in the description, in my opinion, at a bare minimum if you're stealing content. But anyway, the piece was from Wiz Khalifa, and Wiz Khalifa was making it sound like it's a very viable and kind of an easier option to get private investors as opposed to signing like a record deal. Um, and I've seen, and Aaron, I know you have experience like getting private investors involved in your projects. And I just think he made it sound way easier than it really is. Like, I think if you're going to get a private investor, um, you can fool a lot of people. Like if there's a lot of athletes, a lot of, folks that just have a lot of money that just think the music industry is just like fun and exciting and they don't know anything about it. And you might be able to get a lot of money from somebody. But to me, if you find one of those situations, you might be doing the same thing that you're complaining about record labels doing to you, right? Like taking advantage of somebody's ignorance. And when you get somebody involved in your music that doesn't know anything about the music industry, that could come with a whole other host of problems and potentially micromanagement and lawsuits and just a whole bunch of ridiculousness. So I want to get your guys' perspective on what he said, because it's not always the easier route just to get a private investor.
I think it's a super viable option if you know what you're doing. But in fact, I won't even say know what you're doing. If you have sense and some business acumen, because my first ever private investor that approached me for a project I was working on was the first band I ever managed. But I had spent so much time learning, growing. So we were literally like, that was our goal. We were like, we want to find an investor We think it's too soon for us to sign to a label, but we had accomplished so much. We had gone on the Vans Warped Tour. We were about to go overseas. We had done a stint at Zoo Labs in Oakland. So we were just really like, if we got an injection of money, we would probably be able to really build and grow this thing. So we spent like 2.5 months working on a business plan and like a proposal. And we were just like Googling angel investors. How do you find angel investors? Like, just like we would have never found one, I'm going to be honest. But we had a friend of a family friend, like me and the lead singer, who was just like a well-to-do businessman. So we were like, will you sit down with us for an hour and go over this proposal and like give us feedback so that we know we're airtight once we start pitching to these random people. After the meeting, he was like, yeah, I'll give you guys some notes. I'll hit y'all back with an email. When we get the email, he's like, I was really impressed with this proposal. I want to invest. So that was like a wild situation because I like was not banking. We weren't even trying to game him to be like, well, maybe he'll like this. It just completely floored me that he was interested in investing. So that was one situation. I've had another artist that I was working with. Um, for lack of a better, just to be honest, like he came to me and was like, I have these guys who want to invest. It was definitely a money laundering scheme. Do you know what I'm saying? I didn't know that at the time. I just thought they were his like big homies from another city. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there was that. But as soon as the money was about to come, they were interested in working with me as well because I had dealt with investors before. I gave them a plan, yada, 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 but he didn't want to pay me. And so they were like, hey, we're out if Erinn isn't a part of this deal. But like that was a situation where they had built trust with me and they understood that I knew the music industry, so it wasn't a bad investment. And then, yeah, so like I went through, it took me 6 months to work on that contract to build the proper trust. And nothing ever happened because, again, I wasn't involved. And then I ended up leaving the artist after that because the artist was like, well, why do I have to pay you? Can't I just give you 5 racks? And they were trying to give him like 250K. And the first investment that I got was like 80K. And then I just heard about another artist like a week ago who got $225,000 from a basketball player who was interested in investing in him because he was trying to get into the music industry. They spent like 8 months going to radio, ran through the budget. I'm assuming that they didn't know about like recoupment or anything like that. They hired a very high level, well-known music exec to consult for them. That was 100K of the budget. And then the other 100 and something K in 8 months, they ran through the budget just on radio. Kid has no monthly listeners. Kid never did a live show, all these things. And I was really frustrated because I'm like, man, if I would have heard this 8 months ago, I could have really helped y'all out. Like $200,000 could have taken y'all somewhere if you have the right people. So I'm saying all that to say, I don't want to make it seem like investments aren't happening because I, in my 12-year career, have been around two pretty lucrative investments and have been pitched by other people for big
Wait.
artists.
When you say lucrative, it was like,
Not what Wiz was talking about. My
huh?
first artist was $85,000. That was in 2014. And then the second artist I was working with was 2017. And that was like 250K. But
No,
these
but
artists have
lucrative for who though? Like you tell him that the investor was happy with his return?
no. So on both situations, the other situation with the band, they just decided shortly after the investment hit that they just wanted to smoke weed and hang out and me run the business. And after about 10 months, I was like, I can't handle the weight of running a business. And I was not getting paid still. You know what I'm saying? Because we took that 80 grand to invest in the business. It was not lucrative for the investor. And then the
Right.
250K, same thing. That would have been lucrative for the investor because they were investing in us based off the fact that I had landed the guy like 20K in sinks really quickly. But no, it wasn't lucrative. I'm saying lucrative meaning that it was way more than a record label would have given those
Right.
artists at that time. Yeah, no, it didn't work out. All three of those situations I just mentioned, nobody made any money. Now, I believe that had I been involved in any of those situations as a business person, it would have made money, in my opinion. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if I was really
Right.
involved, if they were utilizing me in the proper manner. But I will just, this is the last thing I'm saying, like there are people who invest in music artists you have to have the relationships or luck up, to be honest. But Wiz was talking about like hundreds of millions of dollars. Granted, he is a massive or way massively bigger artist than what I'm talking about. So that number, to a degree, considering how reckless the investors that I was working with no indicators were willing to give, it doesn't sound insane, but it also does sound like it's far-fetched, and it doesn't make sense if you don't have the business acumen behind it. And at that point, you might as well make them a business partner instead of an investor, because then you're on the hook for that type of money. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, most times music is a very bad investment, and most smart investors know that. If they do any amount of due diligence on the industry, if they're not familiar with it, they'll look at the industry, study it, and be like, yeah, this was probably a bad investment. There are so many other industries where I can park my money that'll be safer and get a better return.
Damn, I'm
And
actually surprised that you said that, because you always talk about how the fintech companies are investing in music right now.
they are, but not like this. Not like putting all of your eggs in one basket of an artist that is not proven, right? The fintech companies aren't doing that. They are looking at streams that exist, they are projecting streams, and they are putting money into catalogs that have streams. That's, to me, is totally different.
But
The
I
other,
feel like that's what Wiz may be talking about, because his catalog does have streams.
possibly, I don't think he's talking about like just his stuff. Like he's giving advice to other artists after he's already Wiz Khalifa. He's so far removed from the kid that's starting today that I don't think his advice is very relevant to the people that are listening to what he's saying. The last thing that I will say to this is all of the artists that are like ownership, I need 100% of this, 100% of that, 100%. Like if you get some folks that come from not the music industry, like money, like them injecting capital into you is going to require you to give up ownership, because money, like to them, like money plays a totally different role in other industries. Like if you give somebody money for a business, like just money, they want 50% of the business at least. Like that's how other industries work, and that's, to me, to be honest, like that's how the music industry should work. Like money is power if you don't have nothing, especially if you don't have shit going for you. So if you want to start a restaurant, or you want to start a trucking business, or somebody, and somebody gives you all of the money to do that, they own at least half the business most of the times.
Yeah,
Like,
and
but
people don't blink in those scenarios, but in music, it's like,
yeah,
whoa, you want 20% to be my manager? Oh, whoa, hey, hold on, wait a minute, whoa, independence.
yeah. So you're going to have a totally different conversation about ownership in a lot of these conversations, because people don't play that shit in other industries. Like they're giving you bread, that's ownership out the gate most time. Unless you find, like I said, unless you find somebody that's just happy to be there, wants to be cool, say I'm in the music industry, athletes, actors, whoever, it's definitely not as easy as what Wiz was saying in that clip. But of course, that clip is gonna get millions of views and
Right.
tens of thousands of likes because it sounds like it makes a lot of sense.
And we're gonna get a ton of comments saying, "Stop signing the labels, just meet an NBA player." So easy.
Right.
And look, I've seen all of these scenarios play out in real life. None of them work out, but they're all different. So they scare the hell out of me because, all right, money laundering situation, right? Some people that have drug money, whatever. Let's just call it what it is. They invest money in you. They don't know anything about the music business, and they have a very different sense of loyalty and value exchange than the average person. So they're going to be on your ass. I would never take that money because I've seen it play out, and someone's just on your ass, and next thing you know, they're telling you what to do, and oh, why don't you do it like this, and let's do this, and let's do that, and it's like, wait a minute, now I've ironically lost my independence going independent. You don't want those kinds of problems because they're going to get annoyed that they're not making anything back. I mean, like, it's a vanity project for them. We're investing. Why isn't anything happening? They're going to blame you. they don't understand how the music business goes, is going to be the biggest headache for you. Like you're going to wake up and that person's going to be sitting at the foot of your bed talking about, why aren't you on radio yet? Speaking of
Yeah,
radio.
I was super grateful to have dodged that bullet once I
Yep.
figured out what was going on, to be honest, because that was a very scary situation for me. Because exactly what you're saying, like even when they were starting the process, they were flying them out to, I'm not gonna say what country, but they were flying
Yeah.
them just to give the looks, just so it could be immediately like he's a different, they were flying him all over, and it was like they were like, yeah, we should do this. And I'm like, this makes zero sense, like to do. And even my first pushback is what made them trust me, because they were like,
Yep.
oh, she knows what she's talking about. But I'm like, after a while, they're going to want me to do whatever they say, because they're like, well, at least we're spending the money. They were like, we should get a feature with. And I'm like, huh? Like,
And they're
Yeah.
the
what?
money people. What are you going to say to them? No. Then they stop spending the money. And that is the problem. I would say that's the common problem in all of the scenarios, because the thing about athletes is they don't know the music business either. Their worlds are very different from ours. They have the money. The positive about working with an athlete as an investor is that they're so busy doing other stuff that they're not going to really be on your ass like a street dude will. But that's also a problem because they're so far removed, nothing ever happens. You're like, hey, we need to get moving on A, B, and C. And unless they've hired a team, which they don't because they want to be the bosses, all of these people want to be the bosses.
That's literally exactly why everything fell apart,
Yep.
because the guy didn't have a day-to-day person and everything had to run through the athlete, and they couldn't get a hold of him, and then he wouldn't approve stuff, and then he would approve stuff late and ask why it's not happening. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I've seen this play out so many times, and you're just sitting there like, okay, well, we have all this music. I've worked with a lot of people who were signed under athletes, and you know, and people who were getting money from investors, angel investors, devil investors, whatever you want to call them. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, so when is this going to move? And it never moved because they had to call the final shot, and they never call the final shot because there's no plan. And it's more, what I was going to say is what they all have in common is that they want that look and that fast look and that shortcut. And they think that their money is the answer to the artist's problems. The artist's problems go far, far deeper than money. I get so sick of the narrative that you just need money and that's it in this business, because that's what everyone says. Oh, if you got, even if your music is trash, just spend a $500,000, you'll be good. I've seen hundreds of thousands of dollars go down the drain on decent music. That example you gave, Erinn, where it was the athlete that invested a couple 100,000 on radio, that was their problem. They went to radio and they had no fans. Radio doesn't want to play you. That's not how it works. Radio One has relationships with labels, and labels are only signing artists with fans. So that shortcut isn't a shortcut. Other than a shortcut to you wasting your money.
If you don't have anybody that actually understands the music industry, like you're going to have an investor that wants to do everything they think is cool and they think works because they just watched a season of Empire, right? So they're going to be like, oh, let's go to radio. Oh, let's hire this PR person. Let's do this big budget video. They're going to want to do everything that feels cool, but is really just burning up cash like left and right. I guess there probably are situations here and there. I can't think of, is there an artist that you know of off the top that got a private investor and is just like on right now? Like that's how they got on. I'm sure there's somebody.
I know of one. I mean, we all know this one, but yeah, the
Who?
thing is,
Who?
You talking about 6ix9ine?
I can't say the name,
What,
but
you can't say his name?
no,
Not
they
6ix9ine?
they were already doing well,
Mm.
and somebody prominent in the industry, and I don't even think it was an investment. I think they just gave them some money to kind of help them keep it moving. Do you know what I'm saying? Because that's another thing. Most people don't realize when stuff starts going for real, it costs more money. So it's like in order to really make stuff go, you know what I'm saying? You got to pour money on the fire But a lot of times people try to pour gasoline before there's a fire and it douses out the only tiny little flame there is. So I completely agree with you, Payne. That's like, I told you I'm releasing a book next week for my birthday, and resources. Everybody's like, I need resources. I need money. I need this person. I need this person. The thing is, if you were ready, then you wouldn't like the resources come to you. But when you're not ready, if you're looking for the resources, you know what I'm saying? It's like a catch 22. Like you have to be ready. Yeah, so I think a lot of people just get that misconstrued. But I'll tell y'all after. I can't talk about it because it was just a conversation I overheard. The yada yada yada. I ended up talking to the person who gave them the money. But like, people would be probably frustrated to hear that this person got an investment, but it makes sense. It's just how it goes. Like when you start doing well, people want to help you.
Well, Megan the Stallion, right? That was public. She was signed by an athlete, but it seems like there was actually a team and a structure in place in her situation. And then also she was a great artist who was already on her way up anyway. So it wasn't just like someone that wasn't doing anything. You drop a bag on them and then magically overnight they're making the Stallion. That's just not how it works.
Yeah, so that's probably, I mean, that's definitely a net positive, but
Yeah.
we definitely have heard a lot of issues on the back end of that and all the, the back and forth and I think trials and,
Yeah,
everything
but
else.
you wonder, is that just regular stuff? I mean, that could have happened at a label. That could have had, if it hadn't been a so-called angel investor, those conflicts still could have happened. Um,
Yeah, but I mean, but that one, I guess that one's a net positive because she's
yeah.
obviously continues to win.
I'm gonna see y'all in a sec. Thanks, y'all.
All right, peace.
So, Dame, I don't know if you're familiar with the producer Zaytoven. It's a shame Erinn had to leave, because she's in Atlanta, so she would be familiar.
Yeah,
So Zaytoven was hacked recently.
what,
I
his
don't
social
know
media?
his Twitter, and I don't know exactly what went on. Shout out to Mini Producer though. He was talking about how a friend, who's been on Ellipsy, got hacked by interacting with the fake Zaytoven, and this kind of gives a little nod to this whole Elon Musk Twitter. You know what I mean? And everyone's verified, but Zaytoven lost his verification, like the rest of us who didn't want to pay the $8, who had legacy accounts. Um, but anyway, apparently I mean, I checked her account, it's gone. Mitty was saying, especially if you're a woman in music production, to not interact with Zaytoven's account until it's restored because something nasty is going on. We can only imagine. But uh, that situation inspired me to, and I hope it gets resolved, to just do some searching on Zaytoven. And I completely missed the fact that it's a story from earlier this year that Zaytoven also sold his catalog. So we have Metro Boomin selling his catalog. We have artists like Justin Bieber selling their catalogs. We don't necessarily know from the articles what that even means, but he is now one of the several producers that have sold their catalogs. And his catalog is 560 songs apparently, which is a lot. They're not reporting how much. It's not like with Bieber or Metro Boomin where they tell you, it's 100 million or whatever. But what the article says was, and he's got hits including Migos, Versace, Travis Scott, 3500, Lil Wayne, Problems, etc. Um, it's by UIMP, and according to Vibe magazine, UIMP will obtain Zaytoven's co-published interest across 560 songs in total. So here's what I don't understand what that means, because does it mean he's signing a co-pub deal with UIMP, or is he selling what remains of his underlying composition interest because he previously had a co-pub deal with another company? Like, he had a publisher previously who took his publishing side, he retained his writers, now he's selling his writer's side to this new company. I mean, that's possible.
That's what it sounds like.
Okay, so here's my question, Dame. Why are so many, it seems like this is a new thing, why are so many people selling their catalogs? When you were talking earlier about how tech was investing in, or fintech specifically was investing in artists, catalogs in the way that they would invest in, stocks, etc. Why is this now suddenly happening with these individual artists and these huge buyout deals?
Because the players are there. There's a lot of companies that are kind of bidding for these catalogs because with streaming now, they have more transparency in the royalties, and they're just kind of projecting out like what, because we have history now with streaming, you kind of have, what you've made, and they can project out going forward based on, based on the history of your royalties, like what the expected return on those is. So they can make a reasonable offer to you, say, hey, okay, I'll give you this much now for your future royalty streams. And there could be a lot of things in the future that enhance the value of that catalog, right? Like, I don't know if they have teams of people that are trying to find more placements in television and film. Maybe they think that new platforms are going to exist that are going to, well, they will, like, more platforms will pop up, new YouTubes, new social media platforms where this music can be used, and more royalties will be generated. So, but some of these deals are solid. Like, some of these artists, some of the even independent artists that I know, like, let's just say you made like they're doing a 10x multiple on last year's earnings now. So, like, let's just say you made 100,000 on your catalog in the past year. If a company comes to you and says, hey, I'll give you $1 million, so 10 times that 100,000, like today, to give up your catalog, like, to me, that's not a bad. I mean, it just depends on the artist, right? And the financial situation of that artist, like, because, you can easily, and if it's going to be a taxable event, so you're going to get taxed on the mill. But, like, if you have an immediate need for that cash, or if you have an investment opportunity, you want to get into real estate, like, there is there's a good chance that you can take that money and make more than what your royalties were going to than what your royalties were projected to pay you.
Yeah, the
So
rates are good right now for certain investments because of the way the economy is. So I'd take
yeah,
them.
so if you're smart, I wouldn't take that money and then just, like, go buy a car or something ridiculous. But, like, if you have a plan, like, some of these deals are decent. If there's an emotional tie, if, like Coda the Friend, he would never sell his catalog. Like, that music is his love. That it's him. It's like he wants to pass that down to his family. If you have that perspective, then these conversations aren't even worth having, right? Um, but if you're confident that you're going to continue to make music, like, you could sell your catalog, and if you're still relevant, everything you make going forward, you can keep running that same play every 3 years, right? Like, you can put out a bunch of music, see what the offer is, boom, sell it, then put out another thing. Like, that could be the play that you keep running. It really just depends on how. Yeah, I just want people to know what they're doing. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want people to just sell stuff and be like, "Oh, I didn't know I was giving up that too." Like, just know exactly what you're getting into, and it could work out well for all parties involved.
I think we're all connected to our music. I don't imagine Zaytoven's not, but I'm sure the kind of money that he's being offered is going to be different from the kind of money that Code is being offered. But at the same time, too, I don't know. I guess it depends on what you're trying to leave your family because I respect the romance of the artist, um, but I also kind of look at what I can do with my catalog if it remains as it is. I'm just thinking, if somebody gave me $1 million now, I get taxed, but I have enough to buy a piece of property with that money. Um,
Yeah.
then
Your grandkids might prefer the house to your catalog, or
yeah,
or ownership in another business. Like, I get it. I'm not an artist, so, people will be like, "Damn, you don't understand." Like, I told these stories about my family, and I told, this was my breakups that created these songs. Like, all right, if that's that how you feel, like, I can't fight that. Like, it is what it is.
well, the music's still there. It's not being destroyed. It's just that
Right.
you're getting money for it, and that money is a legacy. I guess it's just a matter of. I think we assign a lot more value to our art than what others necessary. It's like buying, fine art. If you own a Monet or something, that's great, but eventually that's probably going to end up in a museum for everyone to enjoy. You know what I mean? So it's still yours, but it's art, so everyone gets to
Yeah.
feel the same, almost the same satisfaction just because they're there to experience it. Um, so there's a
There's a
theory.
lot. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of players in the space
Yeah.
though, which is good for creators, right? Like, you can get multiple offers and hopefully create, some bidding war situations. I just saw the announcement of a new one called like Duetti or something like that. It just came up in my LinkedIn like yesterday or this morning or something. Um,
And it's like an equity platform for songs.
yeah, so I mean, you can go there and see. I think it's like an automated platform where you kind of just connect your DSPs. It kind of runs the analysis, spits out a number if you like it. Boom. But there's also, there's a lot of deals where it's not like 100% ownership in perpetuity. Like a lot of these companies are also doing like 10-year licensing deals. So you can have the best of both worlds, right? Like you can, at the end of the day, like maintain ownership of your catalog, but just for the next 10 years, the royalties will be going somewhere else, but it will revert back to you after a certain time period. So there's a lot of that. That's how many players are in the space because they're like, okay, we need to compete a different kind of way. We really just care about like these almost for certain royalties. I mean, that's again, the beauty of streaming. It's created this market in this transparency and royalties. So
Yeah, I feel like that would be a good scenario for someone like a Code of the Friend, a 10-year deal. And then they keep
hey,
their
you could probably get shorter now. I like there's all kind of things happening. You just have to be knowledgeable,
yeah.
you know. So
Well, there's a theory with all the AI emerging technologies, and I think that this doesn't apply to the Zaytoven situation, but one theory is that these companies want to feed their catalogs into AI systems. Because I don't know if you've been following the way all this stuff works. So Carl Folks was one of the artists. It's not artist. He is an artist. He's an artist of the law, but one of the lawyers consulted by an article on this whole ghostwriter thing and Universal Music Group's sort of performative crusade, in my opinion, performative crusade against artificial intelligence platforms. But basically, he said what's illegal is that if an AI platform is learning based on copyrighted materials. So if there's a platform out there that is, I don't know, it can generate a Drake song or a Metro Boomin style beat. And the reason it can do that is because it was fed, 100 hours worth of Drake's catalog and 100 hours worth of Metro Boomin's catalog. That's illegal because that copyrighted material is being ingested by this system that doesn't own it. However, someone like Universal Music Group, who does own tons of music, could create their own AI catalog and then create a platform from that, and they would not have any legal problem doing so. So a lot of people are saying, okay, well, that's why these artists are selling their catalogs because the labels want them to. But I don't think that makes sense because one, the labels already own them. If you're at the Justin Bieber level, you don't own your masters probably. And with Zaytoven, this is co-pub, so that wouldn't be enough. You couldn't just say, okay, well, we own 25% of this record. That means we have the right to feed it to our AI system. That's not how that works.
I don't know how that. I mean, it's possible. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how the AI stuff is going to shake out. Um, to me, it's ultimately going to come down to the fans. Like, if the fans don't mind, then it's a wrap. You know
Yeah.
that. But I don't know. But I don't know what the connection to from selling of the catalogs to ingesting that music into AI models. Like I haven't heard of that happening. I don't know if that's a play. It might be a play. I think, but a lot of these companies, it's definitely not like what most people plan to do. From the conversations I've had is like it's what I said. It's like, hey, these are transparent, predictable, reliable revenue streams, and we're just running future cash flow models to you know to generate offers for catalogs. Like, matter of fact, like I don't even like because I at first thought like, okay, they at least got some people in house that are going to try to find sync placements. Like that wasn't even the play for a couple of the companies that I talked to. They just, like I said, they're just relying on the future cash flows of these catalogs. Um, so but we'll
You'd think
see.
they'd want to get the syncs though, because that's, if you have
But
that
it's
kind of,
hard.
it's, yeah, but
And
I mean, not as if you have Versace, you're like, hey, we got Versace now. Can we shop that?
right.
I think the
But
answer is probably yes.
I mean, it just depends on, the resources or the potential partnerships that these, oftentimes just flat out finance companies have, right? Like, you know, so if I sold my cattle, I wouldn't even like look at what people were doing with it. I would just be focused on my money and what I'm doing with it because if if they did start doing something that was making way more money, I'd be pissed. I would be laser focused in on what I got going on and the money that I got and turning that into, more money. So,
Well, I would love to see one of these deals just to see, because they seem very current and forward thinking and technology based. So are they kind of future proofing these agreements with these artists that are selling their catalogs? You know what I'm saying? Is it going to entail all of these emerging technologies? How do they structure those kinds of deals?
yeah, I don't know. Just if you're gonna sell your catalog, just make sure you do your due diligence. Make sure you get several offers from different companies, compare them, and then make sure you have a reliable attorney that reviews the agreement and you ask every question that comes to your mind and you get an answer for them.
Yeah, I guess if it's a few million, my willingness is going to go up, but that's just me. I can make some investments. Um, Cool. I don't, again, this is a special post MEC podcast. This is a special treat. Dame, I appreciate you coming on.
You got to turn it into the No Pain No Gain podcast, Pain. Just make it that
it's
and
it's
be
coming. It's
there. You
slowly.
go. There you go.
If that's what, leave a comment if you want it, if you want that name. I'd have to make a theme song and all that other stuff. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I mean, right now, I think there's a lot to talk about in the music business because it feels like technology is sprinting, and I don't know when else this kind of thing has happened. Even when streaming came out, I don't think it was a sprint. I think it was like a jog. And with AI, it feels like a sprint, and
Yeah.
catalogs and NFTs and all this other stuff. There's a lot of people running in different directions, however. So I think it's a interesting time for commentary.
Yeah, music is a very, I mean, there's constant changes, but as a whole, like it's very slow moving. Especially compared to like, tech or the introduction of new tech. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of things to work out over the next few years. Because things are definitely moving fast on the tech side.
Well, we appreciate you tuning in. I'll just keep dropping stuff. Might have a name soon. We'll see. But thanks again for tuning in. Much success to you. Sell your catalogs for millions of dollars. Oh, and meet NBA players. Peace.
Peace. Yeah,